morning, everybody. Couple things before we get started today. We do have a cool thing today. We are going to be doing the clip contest rolling at the end of the session. And I usually have this Brad mug, which is a lovely 16 ounce. We're going to be giving away a 40 ounce Brad mug as part of the clip contest today. So that'll happen at the end of the session. So stick around so we can give that away. Also, if you know someone who wants to play one of my games, send them my way. I'd love to talk to them about getting into a one-shot or joining the campaign waitlist. That waitlist got longer yesterday. I got a couple people on that, so be aware of that. We also have the Patreon over at patreon.com/GMEric. We have the GM tip videos and archives over on YouTube. The clip contest is going on. We are starting a new month today, and we will have a really cool prize for this month as well. We also have the reference site over at toivoarpg.com, which we will be working on this evening as well, so come hang out tonight. Lastly, we have the Games Edition t-shirt, hoodie, and tank top over at gmeric.com. Go pick those up today because those are really, really cool, super comfy, and really fashionable. All right, well, let's go ahead and get you guys rolling because you guys can play some D&D, and it's that time. And for some reason, my soundboard locked up. 1 second. Otherwise, we'll be stuck in this lovely music for the rest of the session. All right. Well, we'll figure that out. You guys are adventuring in the lands of Toivoa. As you guys have been working to restore Twilight's Call to power over the Shantara Grove, you've been working with various political forces in the form of the Shinozan Protectorate and have made friends with the ambassador there in the form of Islar and Shonazath. You've picked up a military attaché from Nausha in the form of Eowyn, and along the way made friends with Ayla Taylor, a woman, we'll just leave it at that, from the Isle of Cariel Isle, far to the south. In your travels, you have come around Shu and have made your way southwards. Last week, you left Cordray Gruul in an effort to go down to Shatter Shaddai to hopefully get some political favors in order to justify your meeting with the Lady of Shadows in Ochokvok. So, as you are currently sailing along, it's a wonderful day. The sun is shining and the breeze is blowing. The ship is cutting through the waters at a brisk pace as Twilight's Call deftly steers the ship. What would you guys like to do on this beautiful morning as you will be arriving in Shatter Shaddai the day after tomorrow?
Well, Bwinkle decides he's had enough of the ocean spray on him, and he walks and stands next to Twilight's Call, and then decides to shake off all the water.
As Bwinkle returns from the front of the ship and relieves himself of the salt spray, Twilight's Call, can I get a dexterity saving throw, sir? With a 10, you are drenched in moose-laced salt water. And we cannot hear him if he's talking. In fact, I don't think I have heard of it today at all. There she is.
We just woke up from a nap.
Ah.
So we're not awake.
Understood. So.
Well, that should have woke up Twilight's Call.
Twilight's Call, you are now cold and wet.
You have to sleep sometime, Moose Cake.
Moose cake, that's a new one.
Moose cake. I think he heard that one from Ayla.
It was their rendition of patty cake that I heard from the galleys.
Understood. Twilight, you've been granted inspiration.
Thank you. And there was a element of truth to that comments to Winkle.
Oh?
With
What
some intimidation.
Okay. So, Winkle, can I get a wisdom saving throw, please?
You know I am stupid.
True. So, with the wisdom saving throw on the left-hand side there, Winkle, you get the impression that he's trying to scare you about the fact he's going to get back at you at some point.
Yeah, well.
Oh well.
I guess I could sit on him.
Probably. So, as Twilight continues sailing the ship, I'm guessing Covet has been down taking a nap in the berth.
Yeah, she wakes up and realizes that she has to talk to Leslie. And in her grogginess, she opens up the tome of Zorzek Zaf
Uh-huh.
and writes a note to Leslie of is this Tay or Leslie that has the book? And she writes that.
Okay. Well, we will have to wait for a response. Awesome. Because something's going on at this exact moment. And, yeah, we'll see.
She was occupied the last time.
That's why she's going with the book.
Ayla, what are you doing this morning? Other than playing moose cakes.
You're not
Can't hear you.
translating.
Nope.
Now are you hearing?
Yes, you just have to be touched on the ear.
Okay, I guess so.
I guess touched by an angel is a thing.
Or touched by a moose. I'm down in
That's
the
what the second verse of Moosey Cakes was.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Touch a moose, do the fandango.
I am
You can go sometime.
I'm in the galley cleaning up after breakfast, appreciating the time alone so that I don't have to run from moose cakes. And just appreciating a little quiet time. And while I'm doing my work, I am in communion with my God.
See, I heard that Winkle was an expert biscuit checker. And so that's why you're happy to be alone at the moment.
That's one of the reasons, yes.
Understood. So, as Ayla is cleaning up the galley, Eowyn, what are you doing this morning? Eowyn? Probably having microphone problems. Okay.
Can
There
you
you
hear
are.
me?
Yes.
Okay.
What would you be doing this morning, Eowyn?
I think Aelin would be trying to meditate since he hasn't done that in a while.
Cool. Where would he be meditating?
I'm not exactly too sure where, but definitely somewhere quiet where he would be able to hear the ocean.
Okay, so down below decks. Got it.
Yeah.
And Islarin Shunazath. What are you up to this morning?
I will be waiting for a moment to have a conversation with Twilight.
Okay. You see that Twilight is currently, for lack of a better term, bedraggled. It's probably a good time, unless
He's been bemoozled.
he's been bemoozled. I'm sorry. He's probably grumpy at the moment. Would you like to put it off, or would you like to have that conversation now?
On the one hand, the conversation that wouldn't be the best to have on Grumpy. On the other, not sure how long putting it off. Good idea. I'll wait until he's had time to get off shift and dry off, but definitely before Chatter should die.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Then we are going to pan the camera down to Covet Von Sin. And Covet, you're going to get a single letter in the Tome of Zorif Zaf, the letter T.
Um, she goes and writes just because she wants to make sure that's the right person, and she will say, "What do I call you other than your name?"
Ooh, interesting. Damn. The response is going to be handsome, comma, brother.
That's it. She sends him a note and says, "Brother, is she anywhere in the vicinity of you?"
No. And then, wait, you mean Leslie?
Yes.
No, she's not here.
Okay. What I have to ask will wait.
Do you want her?
Would like to talk to her.
I'll
But-
see what I can do.
I have my ways.
And then you see two words. Getting pants.
Never mind. And it's like all underlined. And she's like, "Relax, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point." And talk to you later, brother.
Another script comes across the page. This one much more feminine in writing and a handwriting you've never seen before. And it says, Tay's busy for a bit. He'll write back shortly. And then it's XO, 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 heart, 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 penis.
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks. Okay. I'm glad he's enjoying himself. He needs some downtime. Yeah, she is totally using that word. She just kind of shakes her head and is like, well, okay, so that happened.
The book fires off again, and there's just this big smear across the bottom of the page of a pen being dragged across. That's it.
She just closes the book. She just closes the book. That's it. She closes the book.
Uh-huh.
She's just like she just looks down at the book in her lap and she's like, and is just the words come out kind of like this, but they don't make any sense
because those didn't make much sense either.
Yeah, I know. And at that point, she's like, "Oh, Leslie, I really need to talk to you."
And you will hear a voice in the room. Yes?
Oh, Leslie, it's good to see you, and you changed your dress again.
Of course. The conflict was unfortunate.
But necessary.
Yes. I hope those agents do well.
Agreed. My question is this. I have found a scroll that is very, very, very important. And yes, we got the other one back. That one is in our possession.
Excellent, excellent. So you do have that one in your possession.
I have a scroll that is thought to be it, but potentially. There is another scroll, though, that potentially has just as much value and just as terrifying.
Oh?
It's a scroll of the scroll of Cateus.
Oh, dear.
I don't want it. My crew doesn't want it. It's in a very safe place at the moment, but ultimately we believe that maybe having it go to the temple of MKL where MKL can have it would potentially be a good idea.
That might be wise.
Which temple would you suggest?
The closest one. Where are you?
I am on a boat, and
Well, I know that. I can see the various things moving.
Well, I'm headed down to the Carriel Isles, and I am. Please tell me. Can I see the map real quick?
Of course, we can bring up the map. Of course. What's the worst that could happen?
She is, and she's like, I just wanted to make sure that I was saying this right. We are headed towards Shatter Shaddai.
Oh, there's a temple there. You may need to gain entry to it, though. The magocracy in Shatter Shaddai is bureaucratic.
How so?
Painfully so. You may need to deal with bureaucrats from the time you land to the time that you eat food. It's a overgrown city of opulence and power. If you're looking for favor with the Lady of Shadows, getting in good with the Sultan of Shadow Shaddai would be a great move. If you can manage it. But it won't be a fast process.
Anything political never is fast.
No, but dealing with the various members of the Batim would be problematic. First, you'd have to get an appointment, so you'd need to find someone to talk to who could get you in good with one of the members. Once you had an appointment, you'd have to use your husband's terms, schmooze a little, hobnob and politically influence them into convincing them to provide you with audience with the Sultan. And the Batim is spelled like this. There you go.
I was so far off from that. Okay, cool. So we have to find somebody to talk to get us in with the Batim, to get us an appointment, to get us a audience with the Sultan.
Yes, and then once you're at the palace, you'd of course have to negotiate through the palace bureaucracy in order to actually meet the Sultan. It's going to be a pain in the rear to use your terms.
What could potentially get us that leeway?
Well, I trust you to be creative, Covet. I'm sure that you can find people who you can negotiate with or make deals with. After all, you're resourceful. Find someone. And don't look down on the riffraff of the town. They know it better than the politicians do. Getting a little bit of blackmail may go a very long way.
All right. Well, if there's no other option, we need to get this very dangerous scroll in a very safe place. And that's what we need to do. Hopefully. I appreciate the help.
Of course. Is everything else okay? It's been about a week since we last spoke.
Well, taking care of the situation with the original scroll and the recovery of ships and things like that, we got it, but it was not fun. How does MKL officially feel about, I don't know, Cateus? I know Cateus is like kind of not along our line of thinking, but how does he feel about that?
Well, they are basically at direct odds. They are enemies of each other. I would not consider them to be friendly in any way. Directly opposed? Violently opposed?
Lovely.
Well, you asked.
No, I wanted the truth. I know you give it to me.
Of course. Was there anything else?
No. Just heading down that way
Well,
and trying to deal with what's right.
that's always a challenge, isn't it?
It can be. They say it's better to take the hard right than the easy wrong.
I would agree. You be careful. And remember, just because something looks scandalous doesn't make it so. And not everything that looks pure is.
Understood.
Have a wonderful trip, and please take care of your friends.
Of course.
Now, as a question, if you don't mind me asking, are you sure you want to go to Shatter Shaddai? I understand it's a political powerhouse and could further their armed aims, but you did have that situation.
I'm terrified. But I'm afraid of having this scroll in our possession. I will consult my friends and see if there's another place that we can take it, if at all possible, safely. But having that scroll, it could be worse.
Indeed. Just remember that the Carial Isle is as an entire theocracy loyal to Vulpus Dingus and will not be welcoming to temples of MKL.
Are they enemies?
No, but the theocracy is fierce and exclusive.
Okay. Wow. Anything else that we should know?
Oh, many things. But as far as the specifics of the moment, I believe that is all that I have to provide you with. Oh, I suppose there is one more thing. Jackie. That's a Saturday morning cartoons joke. There are some friends of the consortium in Shatter Shaddai at the moment. If you need help, let me know, and I can put them in touch with you. They've been there for a day or two already, and likely have better contacts than I know of. I hope that helps.
It might. I will see if anyone else has additional knowledge of the location and see if they have any contacts, and if nobody does, then we may just be calling you back.
You know where to find me.
Appreciate it.
Of course. All right. So, Leslie will fade with a little bit of a wave. Oh, and one more thing. If you hear from Tay, tell him I'm looking for him.
He's busy.
Really? Doing what?
A female?
Interesting. I may have to go down to the Open Lotus and investigate. Thank you for letting me know.
I didn't know that's where he was, but okay. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for telling you.
Of course. Who would ever get mad at a snitch?
I'm not
And she
snitching.
fades.
I did not snitch.
Snitch, snitch, snitch.
For the record, I've been communicating with Tay.
Snitch.
You didn't snitch. You're like, he's with a girl.
I'm just saying he's with a girl. It doesn't mean that he's like, I don't know where he
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's just a girl.
Let's see for a second. If your mom asked where your brother is and you told her that he's with a girl, would that be considered snitching? Ayla?
Yes.
Yes, that would be considered snitching.
It seemed like he was already busy, so.
All right, so Covet?
Don't. She pulls out the book of Zorzek Zaf and says, "Don't hate me."
You get back. What did you do?
Leslie's coming. Run! Which is what any sibling would do.
You will not get a response back. Meanwhile, we pan the camera to now show where Tay is hopping out of a window with his pants and clothes. Leaning out the window is a voluptuous woman without a top. Her long hair draped strategically over certain bits so that it's PG-13. So, as we return to the ship, Twilight's Call, have you dried off?
I don't think I've been relieved yet by Romos.
Do you wish to be?
Because I believe Twilight is blissfully unaware of pending conversations or whatever else. I think he's actually enjoying himself behind the wheel right now, especially with the slight observation that he had earlier during his attunement.
Okay. Awesome. So was that yes, you'd like a break?
No, he would not.
Okay.
Or at least he's not looking for it.
In that case, Rolmos is going to be down below decks in the captain's quarters working on charts. All right.
After
Oh,
what
if-
he did to that
Well,
captain.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Twilight.
I said after what he did to that captain's quarters before he abandoned ship, I'm sure that he's trying to recreate stuff.
Right? So, Slaren?
Oh, if Quiet looks like he's no longer grumpy, I think, regardless of whether or not he's still steering the ship, now's as good a time as any.
Okay.
So I will approach, kind of like follow Twilight's gaze out to the horizon for a little bit, and then turn to him and say, all this time at sea, all this time to think, and I admit that I still have Absolutely no idea what you were thinking in Cordred Gruel.
Well, I was trying to get on the boat to make sure that the enemies didn't have access to it. Y'all looked occupied with that huge bone dude.
Not that. And not even specifically with. Well, I don't claim to understand the workings between Imkale and Cateus, but you know what a lich is, right?
Yes, of course.
Why did you choose to deal with one?
There are deals, and then there are deals.
That alleviates none of my confusion.
Well, you have a standardized business transaction that has the exchange of goods and or services, usually for some type of monetary or item of equal or lesser value, to which each party pertaining to said interaction is in agreement that said deal adequately and or appropriately addresses the needs and or requirements of the parties with which the agreement may or may not be pertaining to.
And somewhere
And
there is a card that drops from the ceiling. For Leo Centauri.
And then there are deals with which I am more intimately familiar with that may or may not pertain to names, trinkets, souls, or things of other nature and or value that I most definitely would not be interacting with the Lich for.
the latter being deals that are more common to your homeland,
Oh, absolutely.
right? Well, let me get to the crux of the matter. Why would you bring a corpse to a lich? Or worse, a live person to a lich? To present them as part of a transaction.
Well, the corpse wasn't using it, so it looked like a commodity that might be worthwhile to a being of said nature.
Yes, precisely. It would be worthwhile to a being of said nature.
Which means it has value. I mean, it was on the street, so I can't imagine where it would be of use to anybody else.
Perhaps I am not conveying my question appropriately. Why would you provide value to such a creature, such an anathema to life itself?
I was trying to have a business transaction.
Lauren just stares at him.
Twilight continues to steer the ship, occasionally looking over at Islauren, waiting for the continuation of the dialogue.
I will tell you part of my oath. Never accept gifts or favors from fiends or those who truck with them. Be true to your order, your comrades, and your duty. While the definition of fiends some take to be more literal, as in those that are denizens of the lower planes, Some take it to be broader, including beings that traffic in evil, beings that corrupt the dead, beings that are themselves the corrupt dead. So just
Are you
know that. What is your? What is your question?
so what you describe and the individual that I've worked for many a year are very much aligned. The individual that we had an interaction with of a business nature, there was no gift there, there was no benefit. It was purely transactional. So I'm trying to understand that which you're trying to get after, or the crux of the matter as you reference it. Especially since I didn't see or feel a intent to attack said individual from you in that entire interaction.
Just because one is tasteful does not mean it is prudent to attack them at the moment, or I am not certain of our odds of survival for the entire city to come down upon us.
Well said, I agree.
However, a transaction is meant to be favorable to both parties, yes?
One must always seize an opportunity to better one side more than the other, if at all possible, because, a win is a win.
Therefore, even a mutual transaction is accepting favor.
Absolutely not.
Either way,
A favor
I
implies something that is owed at a later date. And my kind very much is wary of, unless it is to our benefit, of either giving and or receiving. Because there's always a cost at the end.
and my fear is that you underestimate the costs.
Which is why
Either
I did
way,
not seem to favor the Lich at all.
Lauren just raises an eyebrow at that. Either way, you are not bound by my oath, but I am. And I need you to know that in case frankly, in case things continue this way.
Continuing not seeking favor of an undead Lich that can remove me from the material plane? So, Twilight will stop joking there for a minute, turn and look at Islarn while trying to steer the ship appropriately. Please understand that I fully acknowledge the oath with which you are bound. I also fully acknowledge and have been the deliverer of the final death to which MKL has held me accountable for and has dispatched me to account for those that receive and or require because of unnatural means and or otherwise extended lives. Know that I do not go out of my way to put my or my dear wife's life in danger in any shape, form, or fashion. And each decision, while approached lightheartedly at times, is very much calculated with a desired end state. The means with which we carry out those actions may be questionable to some, but the desired end state always remains pure and focused.
The end justifies the means.
Of course.
I do not think I can agree with that, but
And here's why.
it is not an uncommon viewpoint.
There are many times on this plains and any others that we find ourselves in situations that are unfavorable, for the word that you like to use. In such times, those put us in difficulties where a choice must be made. If at the end you adhere to, in your case, your oath, or in my case, my charge, directive, orders, however you want to call it, then as long as we adhere to that vision, that end state, that desired occurrence with which we are bound to, then all our methods, opportunities, and or tools necessary to get after what we have been dispatched to accomplish.
And suppose those means have unintended consequences that run
Then it's
counter to the ends.
For every action, there is an equal and opposite counteraction, and usually a consequence by which we must be weighed, measured, tried, and judged. For me, that is by my deity. For you, it may be your oath. For others, it may be the quality of the biscuits with which they are to produce, and or chocolate chip ice cream. All that to be said is sometimes you have to accept the cards that you are dealt, embrace the fact that fate might be unkind, but as long as you've maintained the vision, the eye on that end state, that finish line, that thing that which we are trying to accomplish, then let the dice be cast, let the actions be weighed and measured, and at the end, we can only do with which that which we've been given and the choices that we've made.
It's interesting that I can agree with the very end of what you said. I think we may have to disagree on the path to get there.
Now, if you're referencing my new acquisition, do understand that consulting of deities was included prior to the actual attunement of said item. Whether or not that makes you any happier, I can't be the what's the word? I'm at a loss for words for once. I can't help you with that one. But do know that actions were taken.
That is fair, and again, I am not particularly knowledgeable about the relationship between Imkale and Cateus. So, if Imkale is accepting of it, then I have no objections. My objections were more to you attempting to bring a corpse to a necromantic lich,
A
knowing what it
commodity
could
for
do with
means
that.
of bartering.
Did you ask Imkale what he would think about that?
No, I did not.
I will leave you be.
Have a good day, and when you see Rolmos, let him know that his time at the helm is fast approaching.
I will do so. Soren will head down to the captain's quarters.
Okay. As you come down to the captain's quarters, Rolmos is there. And he looks up as you enter. Is everything okay? Everything well? You look perturbed.
I am. It is something we can perhaps talk about a little later once I've had time to process the conversation I've just had.
Understood. I'm still new to this husband thing. Do you actually want me to let it go? Or do you want me to wait patiently until you are ready to talk? Or should I pry? I need you to speak plainly because I am at a loss for what to do.
I was going to say wait patiently until I am ready. I'm not. I'm. Yes, let's. No, let's.
He looks even more
Sorry.
confused than before.
Pacing around the room.
He's going to come
No,
over and try to rub your shoulders.
Thank you. I think I do not have the words for it just yet. But Twilight said that that your time at the helm was fast approaching, but he did not say how fast approaching.
I understand. Does he wish to be relieved?
Those were not the words he said.
Very well. Well, I believe he has another hour. May I attempt something that my mother once told me worked for her?
Please do.
He will stand straighter and holding your shoulders, he will look at you straight in the eyes and go, I love you. And he takes his hand and he pats you on the head twice. I'm here if you need me. Then he puts his hands at his sides and smiles.
Islaren just breaks out in a grin, just sweet gesture, and she says, I love you too.
He looks really awkward. I hope that worked.
It helped.
Good. At least I learned something. I'm getting better at being a husband. Hurrah!
Small wins.
We thrive on them, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I love the fact, if you guys are looking at the chat up here, it's like, it works, this works. Yep. Uh-huh. Head pats do go a long way. I don't know why, but this does work, guys. Use this. All right.
Just not in a patronizing sort of way.
Not
and
a
then we'll
patronizing.
sacrifice
It's literally a I don't know what to do. Pat, it'll be okay. I'm here if you need me. And then shut the hell up.
Yes.
Don't try to fix.
No, just be available. That's it.
guys get into trouble when they start talking.
Mm-hmm. That's why we have the Fifth Amendment. All right. So, as the camera pans over to Bwinkle, you've had your fun soaking Twilight. What would you be doing after the fact?
I'm decided I have a hunger, so I'm going to go below decks and
Uh-huh.
look for Ayla and see if she needs help with making biscuits.
Ayla? Do you need help with making biscuits for lunch?
She's speechless.
We cannot hear you in spite of you lighting up. So, I think your button on the side of your headset has been pushed once again.
How about now?
There we go.
Yeah, okay. I bumped it when I took it off a while ago. No, I don't need any help making biscuits. I think I'm going to leave a basket of mooseberry chip cookies sitting in outside the door and close the door.
Because we found out that mooseberry is an aphrodisiac.
Right.
No, but
That's
yeah,
the
but
equivalent
not when
of
you put it with chocolate.
That's the equivalent of putting a sock on the doorknob.
So, Winkle, as you come down the stairs into the galley and near Ayla's bedroom, there is a basket of mooseberry cookies outside her door, and the door is closed.
Well, Winkle just looks at it, picks up the basket, sits down right in front of the door, and starts eating mooseberry cookies, waiting for her to come out.
Understood. Winkle, can I get a Constitution saving throw, please?
Give me a second, I gotta find my mouse.
It should be in your right hand.
Yeah.
All right, Winkle, you can stay right here enjoying your cookies, sitting in the hall, blocking the whole thing with your antlers.
Well, she can't get away from me.
Right? Because of your nice rack. All right. So Eowyn is meditating. Ayla is, taking a nap in her room?
Yes, a quiet, peaceful nap.
Okay. On one side of the
right.
door, Ayla is sleeping. On the other, Winkle is staring holes into the door. Covet? What you doing?
She is going to go up on deck and go try to talk to Twilight.
Okay. Winkle, you've been granted inspiration. So, go ahead and checkmark that. And
Thank you.
Twilight's call. Your wife rises from the deck, her hair blowing in the wind. She looks intently at you and begins to approach.
Now that can make a man stop. His heart stop. I even lost for words today. You take my breath away.
She smiles and gives him a kiss on the cheek and says, and she looks around before she says anything.
Okay.
Is there anybody else around us?
You see Eowyn. You saw Eowyn down below decks. Islarin is in the captain's quarters. Romos is in the captain's quarters. The Fantastic Four are here, but they're up in the rigging. So, no one's going to be listening in, as far as you can tell.
She sees. She looks out towards the ocean, but still where she can see Twilight in her peripheral. And she's just like, I'm afraid.
Oh, of what?
Shatter should I?
Well, you did have the judgment there.
Everything went wrong there.
Hadn't happened yet, supposedly.
Well, I spoke with her, and well, she agrees that the scroll of Cateus needs to go to the closest temple of Impale.
Not the only thing that needs to go, is it?
You do.
We've talked,
Have you really, though?
of course. Well, I got hooked on a feeling.
And somewhere in the distance, you hear somebody go da 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 da.
I don't believe in the.
But she looks at him incredulously and says, "You are carrying a weapon of Cateus."
No, I am redeeming a weapon that was created by Cateus. I have removed it from his possession. I am now using it for what could have been its intended purpose by its origin.
You know it's dangerous.
As is anything else we do.
I can't lose you.
Nor I you.
That being said, we need to get into the temple to put this scroll of Cateus. And to do that, unfortunately, we're going to need to be bureaucratic.
Lovely.
I know you love that word, but you might as well get used to it.
Do we really want to own another town?
It's not that way. It's more of...
I didn't think we wanted any ties to this point.
It's more of getting the bureaucracy, getting them on our side to get us into the temple, because to get into the temple you have to see the Sultan first.
Everybody wants something. The question that I've got is, do you want to go overt or
Well,
overt?
there are people of the consortium that are there that we could use as contacts. We could use their contacts to get an appointment to get an audience with the Sultan. It's not going to be short us being there, unfortunately.
Well, the only way to bypass red tape is to gain leverage. Are you comfortable with any means to achieve that end?
You know I am, as long as it doesn't harm anyone. But, as in death.
Unless it's their time. I mean,
True, but it's not me I'm worried about willing to do what's necessary. It's everyone else.
it's funny you said that.
Oh, Impale, what happened?
This Lauren came and talked to me. She practically called me a fiend.
Well, you are.
Not in public.
I mean, well. Okay, and?
She talked about favors and liches and Well, no, absolutely not. There was absolutely no way I was going to try and attain and or give a favor to a lich in any shape, form, or fashion.
Oh, I know that. But giving a corpse to the lich.
Commodity.
Oh, come on now. We both know that wasn't going to fly.
Of course not. It was dead.
My option was the best course of action.
And it worked, and I applaud you. Thank you for your assistance.
You're welcome. However, don't do that again!
I don't plan on going back to that lich. Why would I repeat it? I already got the bow.
She called us friend, so,
Called who, friend?
You.
I don't know.
Never know. That being said, I think that
I just remembered. I lied. I apologize. Corpses can fly with a catapult.
Thump.
well, that's not wrong, but the thing is that
Holy kind of weight, trebuchet. Something that increases velocity extremely well.
Yeah, but the way that you were doing it was going to fall flat.
No, there's actually a depth.
Yeah,
there.
it
Even
wasn't
if
no
it's
trebuchet. It was just going to lay there.
willingly.
Would you want to kiss a corpse?
No, of course not. I have you.
I'm a corpse?
No, you're not a corpse. You are you. Absolutely radiant and beautiful.
Keep digging.
How to dig yourself a hole in 10
No ice
easy
cream
steps.
for you.
So with that, she's like, you know, as well as I do, that we will do what's necessary to get the political leverage that we need.
Absolutely.
However, it's the rest of the group that, well, they're frankly good people. And, well, not of the Fey realms.
I leave that, my dear, to you. That seems to be your specialty. They don't appreciate a good sense of humor.
You are rather chaotic.
It's part of the charm.
Uh-huh.
You fell for it.
That's true.
Must be doing something right.
The point is that their values are not necessarily mine. Or yours. And I don't want to compromise their morality either.
So we provide options. We provide means. We provide primaries and alternatives. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what sticks. We'll see what they decide to choose. And then we'll do whatever else we need to do.
It sounds like we're going to have one hell of a time at this next port. Just understand that my mask is going back on because I'm terrified.
You know I'm here.
I think that we probably need to get the group together and talk about this before we make it to port.
I think we need to understand what we're going to be dealing with before we have a group conversation. I mean, unless you're wanting to delay your boat before we arrive in the port.
She just kind of shakes her head.
You see him start to make the movement for a salute.
Oh boy. She stopped. She just gives him a very pointed stare.
Oh, that's right. This isn't your boat and you're not the captain. My mistake. I apologize.
And she's like, too soon, my love. Too soon.
Almost will eventually come up and relieve you.
Captain?
He will simply take over, and you're relieved.
Appreciate it.
One moment before you go, as he takes the
Yeah.
wheel. You pissed off my wife.
She was rather upset with the whole situation in port last time.
Fix it.
We'll see what we can do.
Lady Covet, I need a little bit of assistance.
She looks at Twilight and says, for my sake.
Of course, my lady.
She smiles at him and says, the sooner the better. And she turns her gaze back to Rolmos and smiles genuinely and gives him a wink and looks back at Twilight and says, I'm headed down to our berth. And turns around and sachets away.
Right behind you.
Covet? Actually, not Covet, but Twilight? Will you resist, or will you give in to the temptation?
There is no resisting that one.
Understood. Covet, you have been goosed several times on the way down towards the berth.
That track.
As, I think it's called lifting and supporting, right, Twilight?
Assisting down the stairs.
Understood. Ensuring she doesn't fall backwards.
Of course.
Of course. As you guys come down towards your berths, in the hall below decks, your passage is blocked by Winkle, who is currently seated with the speckled remains of a dozen mooseberry cookies. As you look at him, his eyes are a little bit on the twitchy side as he's staring at Ayla's door, seated on the floor.
I think he's high
Is that mooseberry?
and horny.
Oh, you got that silent spell ready?
I can. Oh boy.
He's blocking the passage to get to your berth.
She goes over, keeping her distance, but pushes him over to the side, like getting him to almost lay down on his side with just by pushing him on the antler.
Winkle, are you going to accept this touch from Covet?
I had to think about that. I turn to her and say,
You're laying down.
okay, I turn my head to her and say, oh, I didn't know I was blocking the way. Let me get out of your way just a little bit. I'll get up next to the door. And he stands up and gets as tight to the door as he can.
As he gets close to the door, you hear his antlers touch the wall, the other wall, and then you hear a third thunk as he presses himself against the door.
Does he get stuck?
No, but there were 3 hard things that hit the door frame. It might have been his armor.
Probably could have been.
Cabot cringes just a bit. Is there enough room to get past him now?
Yes, but unless you're able to perform the acrobatics check of a DC 14, you are going to have to touch his tail.
She looks at this situation and she's like, and then she looks at Covet and she's Twilight and she says, I'm not gonna fit through there without touching personal places. So she misty steps to the other side.
She poofs to your side, understood? Twilight, we can now say that you have a friend on the other side.
Oh, that's more than just a friend.
Right. So, are you going to go past Winkle?
As I pass Boinkle,
Uh-huh.
where did it go? I will give Boinkle performance enhancement
Uh-huh.
of a bull's strength. You seem to be having issues with the door there. Here you go.
Ooh, thank you.
And we'll continuing on.
Okay. As you are given a slap on the rump, and Twilight goes past you, Twilight and Covet can go to their berth and do whatever they're doing. Winkle, you've been left in the hall feeling energized.
Ooh. I grab hold of the doorknob
Uh-huh.
and just see if it's open. Never occurred to me before.
Ayla, is the door open or locked?
It is locked.
Well, Winkle is a gentleman, even if he is a moose. So he just kind of sits back down and stares at the door.
Okay. Understood. So, as the blue moose sits there, Eowyn, you've been meditating for several hours. What would you do?
I'll go out from my room to see if I can go on deck.
Okay. As you come out of your room, you see Winkle staring intently, almost quivering in the hall.
Is he blocking the entire hallway still?
Yep. Or once again, he is.
I'll go back in my room. I don't know what I'm...
Okay.
That's not my problem.
Understood.
How to scar Eowyn in 3 easy steps.
All right. So, we will fast forward to later that afternoon. Winkle, you will hear Ayla in her room wake up at some point. Ayla, how long of a nap did you take?
A good 3 hours.
Okay, after 3 hours, you wake up refreshed. It's lunchtime. You're a little hungry. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon.
I guess it's time to go out and get some sandwiches and stuff together.
Okay.
So I'm going to carefully open the door because I know what I left out in the hall.
Understood. As you open the door, Ayla, what are you wearing?
Some of my normal clothing like I wear to work in the galley, and I have my a big apron on over said dress.
Okay. As you open the door carefully, you see the most cute moose ever, patiently waiting for you, sitting in the hall, with the detritus and crumbs of cookies still remaining in the fur around his mouth, where if you look at them, he gets a little self-conscious and a long tongue comes out and licks them off. Winkle, you look up to see Ayla Taylor in her normal clothing, but with an apron on, fresh from a nap. How do you respond, Winkle?
I look at her and I say, "Oh, my dear, you're so beautiful." And it seemed like eternity when I couldn't get to you.
That's very sweet. I just needed some quiet time. Have to do that every now and then, you know.
Okay. Do you need any help in the kitchen?
Sure, you can come slice up the meat for us.
Oh, so I get to slice the meat. Do I get to help with the biscuits?
Do what?
Do I get to help and make biscuits?
No, we're not having biscuits now. We're having sandwiches.
Oh, okay.
Come ahead.
Okay, go ahead, I'll follow.
Ayla, do you lead the way?
Yeah, I kind of have no choice in this.
Okay. So, Winkle, she's not a minotaur, but she's got some tail.
Oh, yes. And she sachets through the hall up over to the galley. And nothing is better than a beautiful woman in the kitchen who actually likes you somewhat.
Mm. So, like a snake charmer being followed by the snake, Winkle follows you into the galley to help lay out meat for sandwiches. Cool.
It's tough to keep him on a leash.
I don't think it would be.
I think she was wearing the leash the last time.
I
I
think.
did. It was a disguise, remember?
Reverse roleplay.
Seemed a little personalized to me.
Yeah.
You would think that.
For some reason, I think that. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. Yeah. Would Winkle own a collar that has the word bull moose all the way around it?
No, but I picked one with pictures of Teddy.
Understood.
No, Roosevelt?
Uh-huh. All right. So, Covet, you will hear the clattering of food being made for lunch. You guys will be getting hungry at this point. It's a great time for you guys to sit down and have a meal together.
Covet, she gets, takes a deep breath as she sits on the bed and looks at Twilight and says, "We need to talk to the group." "Yes, we do. Let's go. Come on."
It's later.
She stands up and throws his clothes at him because That's what he would do. He would have wanted. And she says, "Get dressed. We have to go talk to our group. I want to talk to them before we make it to port."
Twilight, will you get dressed?
With a little bit of grumbling.
Only a little bit?
Okay. So, you guys head out into the galley. Eowyn, would you come out for lunch?
It's safe now.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Islarin, would you come down to the galley for lunch?
Yes.
Okay. For the first time in a couple of days, the entire party is gathered around the table. Using your passive insight, it is impossible to not notice that Covet wants to say something.
Do you
Covet,
have
it
something
looks
on your mind?
She's inundated by these concerns, and she's like,
you look like you want to say something. Go ahead. We're
Oh, good job on
family.
this ship.
good job. I think that's the first one for the stream.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. That being said, she looks at both Islarin and Ayla, startled but not surprised at the same time, because she knows that we've been traveling long enough where they know little idiosyncrasies. She takes a deep breath and looks at Twilight and says, "I think we need to talk about Shadow Shaddai and this city that we're heading to, and the cargo that we carry." As you know, we have a scroll of Cateus.
We have what? Oh, okay. Sorry.
She just gives him this incredulous look of really. And takes a deep breath and just sighs and shakes her head, and she knows what he's doing, appreciates it, but then is very much. She's very much ready to just go ahead and talk about it. She says, "As you know, that we have the scroll of Cateus, and if it's opened, it could literally be world ending. So we agreed that it would probably be a good idea to put it in the Temple of MKL. I spoke with one who knows of the temples, and the closest one is in Shatter Shaddai. We need to get rid of this thing and put it in the temple as soon as possible. However, there's a couple of things with Shatter Shaddai. One, you already know. Everything that happened with the Judge of the Dead and what I was accused of happens there. So I'm scared. I can't let that happen. But it's not like in Nausha or any of the places that we call home that we could just walk into the temple. We have to use political influence to get into this temple, to place this scroll. And we need to put this scroll in the temple before we continue our trip to Ayla's home, because of the beliefs of your of your people. Correct, Ayla?
Unfortunately, yes. Because I'm a traveler, I tend to um, tolerate a lot of things that my people would not, merely because I understand that just having it in your presence does not mean that you are attached to it. But so many of them do not understand that.
So the only way for us to get political clout is to we need to find somebody who can get in, who can put in a good word for us with the Batim, who can get us an appointment to get an audience with the Sultan, and then meet the Sultan. And he's really the only one that can give us permission to get into the temple. But unfortunately, the ways into the temple, as you know, are bureaucratic, and bureaucracy is
Full of red tape.
exactly.
The fastest way to bypass the GPS reports and the memos and the Forms 3256-A, but we had to do the -B before the -A in order to get to the C that allows the filing of the D that enables us to schedule the appointment, which is 15 days past the point of filing A, but you must do so before you do C. It's usually leverage.
That is true. And because we are strangers, we have no leverage. So,
I can use my dad's name. That might help. He's been over there several times and he's got some acquaintances. Maybe I can find out who they are.
This is the first time that she's discussed her dad to the party.
your dad,
My
he's
dad
been
is um he's in charge of the army for the Carriel Isles, and we trade with Shaddai, and my dad's been over there several times to help them out when they've had issues with marauding pirate groups and stuff. So maybe if I say I'm his daughter, it might get us into some places.
You guys suddenly get a realization Ayla Taylor isn't just a cook. She's the daughter of a very important person in the Carriel Isle.
what's your dad's name?
You know what?
Is Winkle sweating over there?
Winkle?
Can you see the sweat through the fur?
Well, his name that the king gave him is Ramaris. Ramaris Taylor, general in charge.
Can we get that typed out, please?
Sure.
You say his name that the king gave him.
Yes, the king gave him a different name because
Yep.
the king gave him a different name because his name was too um, elven.
Yep.
Because my dad's is an elf, and he wanted him to have a name that was more um, Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted him to sound more like one of us, so we gave him a different name.
Are you going to reveal his
That's
real name?
And I mean, I knew you're who.
Why is it that every time we need information or a situation or leverage, all of a sudden Ayla's, oh yeah, I can do that.
Okay, Ayla, you got some. As some of the people that I have come across in my travels, I'm gonna use some of their human slang. You got some splaining to do.
Okay, my dad was a high elf, and he was an officer.
Is a high elf. He's still alive.
Well, yeah, he is. He's still alive. Okay, so he's a high elf, and he was um, an officer, a captain, in fact, in the Elven armies, and he got fed up with all the infighting and all the fighting between nations because the elves are always fighting with somebody, and so he, at the end of his enlistment, he refused to re-sign and he left. So he comes um, down and he finds this little island, Cariel Isle, and it seemed to be so peaceful and quiet. And he decided he would stay, particularly after he met my mom. And my mom
Please roll an
was,
insight check, everyone. Thank you, thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
Covet is very invested in this story.
Thank you. So she's leaving out major details about how, yeah, the only person who doesn't pick up on this is Boinkle, and that makes total sense. She is leaving out a key detail about how he arrived, as I believe this would have been from her perspective of the story of how he arrived at the island. Is that correct, Ayla?
yeah, pretty much.
Understood.
But just, I'm trying to make a long story short.
Oh
So
no, don't worry about that.
he met, well, he actually ended up kind of getting drug here. And we'll kind of just leave it that for now. But
No,
anyway,
no,
Oh,
no,
no,
no, no,
you
no,
can't
no,
do
no,
that.
no, 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 no. We understand being in places that we are not meant to be. When you say drug,
We're talking like by a collar, or are you talking about
Are we-
medicinally?
are we talking interplanar? What are we talking about here?
no, not interplanar. He just got someplace he wasn't supposed to be.
She did deny the collar.
No, wait a minute. He was chained, but it was not a collar.
What was his
He-
safe word?
She
He was
goes
chained.
and she picks up her knife and stabs it right next to Twilight's hand. And
So anyway, he got over here. My mom was a tailor who worked almost exclusively for the king and the queen and the ladies in the temple of our god. They use Ignus. And yeah, and so he um, met my mom, and he was curious about the peace that she seemed to feel, and everything. So bottom line was, she talked to the king, and they got him released. And he married my mom, and he learned the art of being a tailor. And finally, she asked him, said, "Well, what did you used to do before you came here?" And he told her that he had been um, a soldier. And mom says, "Well, no, that's cool." She says, "You don't have to do this if you don't want to." He says, "No, I find great peace in it." So they became tailors, and they are pretty well known because Rolmos knew of them. And but we had the same marauding group that was bothering Shaddai came and started attacking our island. And the king had no experience in leading an army, so my father got an audience with him, and he could do that because he was working on a piece of armor for the king. And he went in and told the king he used to be a captain in the Elven army, and so the king put him in charge of the army temporarily just to see how things worked out. And the Elven army was able to beat off the marauders, and so the king made him permanent. And ultimately, um, he has a place in the palace, and our family moved into the palace. And then my mom got promoted, and when the high priestess of the temple died, she became the high priestess of our god. And so, yeah, I know some people.
Okay. Yes, you definitely know some people, but you skipped a little bit. Chained. I heard chained and released. What happened? Covet's totally that person. She will ask those blunt questions.
He tried to stand up for somebody, and I don't know the exact details. I just know that he tried to befriend somebody in Shadar Shaddai, and it pissed off the Sultan. And so the Sultan was going to just throw him away. And one of the army guys knew that what he was trying to do was the right thing to do. And so he asked the Sultan if he could take him and make him a slave on one of his ships. And the Sultan says, yes, that seems like fitting punishment. Only when the army guy got back to port on our island, he let the let him go because he said that he knew what he was trying to do was right. He was not a bad man. So we let him
So
go.
are you sure it's in our best interest to mention the name of a man that the Sultan threw in chains and sold into slavery as a means of gaining clout in the city?
Oh, yeah, that's another reason why the king changed his name. The king
Oh,
doesn't know that Ramaris Taylor is the same man that he arrested. The Sultan doesn't look at people. He looks at their credentials.
so
So
what if we?
now, see, Ramaris Taylor is the general in charge of all of the armies, and he's actually armies and navies for the island, and that's all the Sultan sees.
So what
I don't
of
remember.
the person that was part of the army in Shaddar Shaddai? Do you know who that was?
Only that he was an older gentleman, and he died when I was about 12 and was buried with honors.
Oh no, he doesn't. He's not the one that protects the seal, is it?
No,
Are you sure?
the prince protects the seal now.
Um,
Begins reading GM facial features.
The
What, you think
prince.
I set things up months and months ahead of time?
is is his was his name Sir Madrick?
Say again?
Sir Madrick was his name Sir Madrick?
Well, not Sir Madrick, no.
Yeah, are you sure about that?
His name's Madrick, but he's not Sir Madrick.
Well, that's with
He's
honors.
Oh, you mean the guy that died?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his name.
Think back to my trial.
Yeah.
The dude, the knight that protected the seal was Sir Madrick.
But he's dead.
He was dead then.
I know, but he accused you of defiling his place.
Covet puts her hands in her puts her head in her hands and just rests her elbows on the table and just
I'm not trying to upset you, Covet, but he's been dead a long time. And
so
he
is he
was
with
buried
them?
with honors. He's in a cemetery. He's got a blessed monument on him, but there's no guards like he talked about. Maybe it's a different guy,
If it's
but
hyperventilating.
he was not a knight.
Did he protect anything?
Well, he was the keeper of the seal. But when the prince became of age, the prince became the keeper of the seal. And so he was not the keeper of the seal when he died.
Covet is looking like she looks at Twilight and she's already pale as it is because she shot our Kai, but she goes ghostly white
Yeah, but
and is
see, look,
breathing
look.
so hard.
Our Madrick is buried on Carial Isle. The Madrick that was in your trial is over in Shadar Shaddai. They can't be the same.
Could he not have been moved?
Why would they move him to Shadar Shaddai when he is honored at Carial Isle and not in Fluidon?
So do we need to get you a staff?
How long has it been since you were there?
Just about 2 years. And I suppose he could have been moved, but I don't see that happening because the people in Carial Isle were just dead set against him being anywhere other than on our island. I don't think my father would let it happen.
She's sitting there and she is visibly shaking.
Ayla, what other critical piece of information and or item or capability are you withholding from the group?
I'm not withholding anything. I'm telling you what I know when I know it, when I know that it's needed. I told you my people had pull. I told you that. I didn't know you wanted my whole life's history.
And she looks up at Ayla, still trying to not hyperventilate, but not working out very well. And
You
she's
need
like,
a paper sack.
I might take one. Nobody's got any any staves that have a green skull on them here, because if they are, it's going overboard now.
No, I wouldn't have such a thing. And I didn't say anything before because this Madrick was on Fluidon. My Madrick was not a sir in the first place. He was major.
Can we see a map, please?
Yes,
Mia?
ma'am. Absolutely. Of course. Not that there's any panic going on or anything.
Shatter Shaddai is in Fluidin!
No, it's off the coast. We do not consider ourselves part of Fluidon.
Carrera, she's saying Shadow should die versus here. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And he's not considered a hero in Fluidon. Much less Charter Shaddai.
He may not be a hero, but he may be a very strong, powerful knight of his time. And if they're trying
Listen,
to protect something important, it wouldn't matter.
the king said that Madrick would be buried and honored in Carril Island as long as he was alive, and his prince said the same stood for him too. I do not believe they moved him to Shadar Shaddai. I believe you are overreacting.
Are they alive?
Yes.
You sure? It's been 2 years.
Yes.
Are
I
you
just
sure?
had a letter from my parents, not 2 weeks ago.
She gets up from the table and is literally pacing the floor.
Wait a minute.
You can hear the click of her boots as she walks back and forth. And she's breathing heavily. Her arms are wrapped around her waist. This is like the most emotion that you have seen from her outside of being acquitted from the uh, the Judge of the Dead trial.
I do not know how to reassure you. I am 100%. Okay, let me even go this far. The guy who was at your trial does not even closely resemble the guy that I remember when he was alive.
Can I insight check that?
Sure.
The guy I remember had a huge scar across the length of his face. It ran diagonally, okay? Where he had been injured in a fight, and he had no hair.
The guy never took his helmet off.
Yes, he did,
No, he did not.
okay? Okay, my guy walked with a limp.
Do dead men have limps?
It doesn't say anything about him recovering from them, not in any religious tomes I've ever read.
He was in full armor and a ghost.
But he would still limp, and he walked. Oh boy, did he walk. He paced back and forth, back and forth.
Not necessarily. Don't they usually, oh, I don't know, float?
He didn't. He was walking. He was using his legs.
That was when he was alive.
No, during the trial.
He was.
During the
Gee,
trial, he
okay.
took a grand total of 4 steps.
And he didn't limp. His armor's not familiar either.
That's valid.
The armor that our Modric wore had the seal of the Isle on the chest. There was no such seal on this guy's chest.
That's correct.
So, was there any family agreements and or historical binds or oaths that might have tied him back to the mainland?
No. His family, his wife.
Remember,
This is sad.
Ayla only knew him as a little kid, so
Yeah.
she
To
wouldn't
my
know much
knowledge,
about his history.
I know that he had a wife and he had some kids because he said that I reminded him of his daughter. But they were never around, and my mama told me that they got killed in an attack by pirates. So I always felt sorry for him. And when he would tell me I reminded him of his daughter, I'd always give him a hug and kiss like I give my daddy. But he always wore his armor and it had the seal of the Isle on his chest. And the guy at the trial had no such seal.
Um, the seal, the of the Isle. Do you happen to have a seal like that?
I don't right now, but I can get you one as soon as we get to the mainland. It has a picture of a cornucopia on it, if that helps.
Covet is she stops and just stands facing, not facing the group, but facing like the kitchen area, opposite of the table. And she takes a few deep breaths, and she turns and says, Ayla, I appreciate the information you've given us. I know it has been 2 years. I just need some air. And she walks out of the galley and stops at the door and puts her hand on the door frame, kind of gripping it really hard where you can see the knuckles go white, and looks back at the group over her shoulder and says, whatever you choose, I will abide by. But no, my life could be in your hands. And she leaves the galley and goes up on deck and heads towards the bow of the ship, and just finds a quiet corner and just falls apart.
Twilight, before you go, let me tell you that Moldark is a very common name in honor of the major. Hundreds of people were named Moldark after him. So to say that there's another knight named Moldark is not out of the realm of possibilities.
I thought they mentioned it as Madrick during the trial.
No, he was always addressed as
Yeah.
Sir.
No, we were given the name. Sorry, I'm not there. I'm not there.
We shall see. And he turns and follows.
Is Lauren, did I really screw up that bad?
No, you presented the facts as you know them.
I really don't believe it's the
This,
same person.
I think, there are enough coincidences now that we should proceed as if many of these things may come true, regardless of what circumstances as we know them to be are. And in doing so, hopefully, we can prevent them or prove that not all was as it seemed.
Yeah. Well, we know that somebody tried to mimic Covet and tried to mimic the ship. So perhaps that's something that we can prevent. I just feel bad. Maybe I should have said something sooner. I don't know.
I think the timing of when she heard it would not have changed her reaction very much.
Yeah.
But
Maybe.
she is resilient. She will figure out a plan. We will all figure out a plan together. We will protect her.
Yeah. I would not let anything happen to her. If it were to cost me my life, nothing would happen to any of you. Let me see if I can get some of this picked up. Maybe something will come to me as I do some work.
But Twilight, do you go up to find Covet on deck?
Oh, absolutely.
You find your wife up on deck. It's hard to miss her.
He will walk up. He won't say anything. He'll just sit down next to her, put an arm around her, and just be present.
She just leans into him and just cries. She's so scared. She's shaking. And all he can hear her say is, "That future can't be mine. That future can't be mine."
It won't. And will remove any indication of.
I know we have to go there, at one point or another, but just because we need to. But
My concern is that if a doppelganger has already been there, what does that do to any potential interactions and or leverage we may find once we get there?
agreed.
We need to be prepared to handle whatever that fallout might be.
I'm also afraid that avoiding going there will ultimately drive us to there and back on the same track that was in the trial.
Not the first time the fates have been kind.
Last time I was pushed from the path I needed to be on. MKL sent my rescuer. My rescuer's here. I'll have nobody to catch me when I fall.
I'll catch you, or we fall together.
And she wraps her arms around him and just curls into him and just continues to cry for a little bit longer until she basically falls asleep on his shoulder.
Okay. Twilight, do you carry her down to your quarters?
Eventually, but not immediately.
Okay. Winkle, after all of this hullabaloo that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, what would you be doing?
Being true to myself, I would be looking at the food and going, what a waste. So I would just start eating and
Understood.
eating and eating and then eating some more.
So I will ask the question, did Covet eat her sandwich? No.
Ooh.
Winkle,
And it was,
Yeah.
you gain an
it
extra
was
sandwich. Twilight's
Yeah,
call.
like-
Did you eat your sandwich?
Half of it.
Winkle, would you eat the other half of Twilight's sandwich?
Well, I'd trim it up, but I'd eat it.
Understood.
Would you though? Would you really trim it up?
Of course, I'm fastidious.
He used a really big word. What?
It hurt.
When Winkle does the word fastidious, does his lips quiver with the effort?
Oh, yeah, all the way around.
Understood. Eowyn, what are you doing through all of this? All of these reveals of Ayla's history and how they connect, potentially, to the trial of Covet von Sin.
I want to go check if Covet's okay.
Okay? Yeah. So you go up on deck, and you can see Covet currently being cradled by Twilight.
I'll walk up to Twilight and ask if she's doing okay.
Twilight will give a motion of attempt to be quiet. Not necessarily. He does it in a kind way, which may or may not be contrary to his normal method and/or approach. It's more of asking to be courteous to Covet sleeping, and nods that he's got her and she'll be good. She just has to get through this particular situation.
Oh, okay. Tell me when she wakes up, though.
Of course. Thank you for your concern.
No problem.
It's Lauren.
Oh.
What are you doing?
I think. Is Romulus eating with us? Like,
No, he's driving the
part of
ship.
this conversation? Okay. I think I'm gonna finish eating and then go find him.
Okay. So, you know where he is, and as you come to find him, his hair is blowing in the wind. He looks like the perfect sea captain in uniform, driving the flagship of the Shinoza Protectorate fleet.
Just be there peacefully for a little bit, and eventually break the silence by saying, "We need to be very careful when we're in Shadow Shaddai."
He nods.
I fear there is much more happening there than we know, and I hope that fear is unfounded.
He nods. With your passive insight, he's letting you talk because he's afraid of putting his foot in his mouth.
Smart man.
And it's Lauren at this point, like, she's just saying it because she needs someone to hear it. She's not
Right.
looking for a response in particular.
And all he's doing is giving you the nod of acknowledgement. He's listening.
She'll just wait there with him for a while, just help him keep an eye on things.
Okay. Oh. The rest of the day will pass by uneventfully. Now we have a couple of options that I will present to the party. Do you guys want to discuss what happens the next day, or should we do a little bit of a montage here?
Montage up until getting to Shadow Shaddai, or
Yes. Or just before?
that would be my vote.
Okay.
That would be mine,
I
I
don't-
think, also.
Yeah, I don't.
Awesome.
I don't know if anybody else had anything to cover before then, but
For those who cannot see the webcams, I'm seeing a whole lot of nodding. So we will montage to 8 hours before you arrive in Shatter Shaddai. The morning of. So 2 days after this discussion, as we do a time wipe, you guys spend the next 2 days warping forwards in time.
So we're doing the time warp again.
We are doing the time warp again.
Yes, I'm so proud of you guys. Oh my god.
So,
I was doing the time warp on camera, just FYI. Twitch.
Yes.
There you go.
So, as you guys have gotten rest, perhaps gotten a more emotionally stable state, gotten a bit of food in you, and been able to process things a bit. Is there anything you guys would like to do this morning? It's 8 a.m. You'll be arriving in the Curiel Isles about 4 p.m. today. Sorry, not Curiel Isles, but Shatter Shaddai. 4 p.m.
Yes, I would. Twilight will actually go and knock on Sloan's door.
Soren will open it.
Hey, Lauren. Good morning. I wanted to return this to you. I appreciate you let me borrow it for a while. It's very intriguing. And he will return the Moonlit Mariner.
How did you enjoy it?
Very interesting interaction. Sometimes it was a little salty.
He gives a wry grin at that.
I have to ask because it matters. Covet, did you ever, did you enjoy the book?
How do I want to put this? How do I want to put this? Okay. I gotta do this delicately. She enjoyed the book and certain reenactments.
Understood. Any Twilight's called to roll a performance check. How accurate to the book? Very accurate to the book were the reenactments.
I mean, the whole shoulder, the whole arm lean like, in the door frame.
Uh-huh.
Thing, yeah, yes. The book boyfriend lean. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We literally just discussed that last night.
Every girl knows about the book boyfriend lean.
Yes. I believe that was called Kabodon, if I remember properly from last night.
Nice. It was steamy. It was, yeah, it was good. Appreciate it. Any other recommendation?
Islaren, do you have another recommendation?
It depends. What are you looking for? Less salty, less steamy, more salty, or more steamy?
More like a whirlpool.
I'm going to give you a series of 5 books here. Islaren, I'm going to just send these to you from in Discord so that you can choose from these, okay?
Okay.
because Romos packed up some new books for you. There you go.
For the library on the hill.
Which one are you going to loan the party?
I mean, if these are new, I don't want to take anything that you haven't read and or utilized yet.
Remember,
so-
she's had a month coming down the coast.
And I've also got books in addition to these as well.
Right.
So
Which one of those five?
because can it be one that you gave me earlier?
You could, if you choose that. That's fine.
Because specifically to Whirlpool,
Okay.
I am going to offer him Secrets of the Blue Abyss.
For those who cannot see the webcam, Covet just had a jaw drop and then took a sip of wine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I own it.
Uh-huh. So Secrets of the Blue Abyss, Twilight, is the book that is given to you. The cover of this book is basically a complex swirl with a title, and it's bound in blue leather.
Seems very energetic. Full of chaos.
It can be. Oh, no spoilers.
Oh, of course not. And that is actually
But
all that.
it should pull you in.
Okay.
I'm not even going to go there. I don't have to.
Have a good day.
We're just going to leave it at that. All right. So, Twilight, you have a new book. As the ship pulls in to the main river, you guys will be traveling for 4 hours into the harbor of Shatter Shaddai before you arrive at a place to dock.
Okay, I'm going to slip and knock on Covet's door.
Okay?
Knock, knock.
Covet.
She opens the door.
Covet,
Oh.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and it has occurred to me that when you had your trial, that one of the ways that the doppelganger was able to do what they did was because you always had your mask on and nobody saw your real face. Were you planning on wearing your mask in Shaddar Shaddai?
She thinks on it and says, I will have it on my person. I will always have it on my person. I will remain attuned to it, but you do make a valid point. I will leave it on my belt.
It
when
just
not
kind of occurred to
necessary.
me that if your real face was available, no one could accuse you of doing something that you didn't do. I don't know if it helps, but there it is. So,
Covet puts her hand on Ayla's forearm in a gesture of reassurance and says, I will take your suggestion into consideration.
just trying to do what I can.
I know that my reaction was strong.
No, I don't blame you. It's okay.
I am just very wary of this city.
So am I, and I've been here before. Or maybe because I've been here before, I'm very wary of this place.
I mean, other than the situation that of the trial for me, why would you be? I mean, you came here much, did you not?
You just Dad used to bring me with him sometime if I needed a new gown for a ball, and I went through a period where I didn't want mom and dad to make my dress for me, even though they're the best tailors on earth, and I wanted a dress from somewhere else. And so he would bring me over here, and I always felt like I was being stared at, and like if I took a deep breath, I'd get in trouble. So, yeah, I don't like this place. So,
Why did you feel that way? I mean, what are these people like? Because I have no memory of this place. There is no, I mean, according to the future, I had been there for a hot second, but it doesn't mean I remember anything, know anything.
I know it's the bureaucracy is so heavy. If you come in and you're attached, because obviously I was attached to an important personage who was accepted by the bureaucracy. But just because you're the child of a bureaucrat doesn't mean that you're accepted as part of the bureaucrat. But because of your connection to the bureaucracy, my team will watch you very carefully to make sure you don't step out of line. So to say I felt like I was being watched, the bottom line is I was. Everywhere I went, there were people who followed me. And
Are
when we
there
went,
any folk? Go for it. I'm sorry.
I would just say, even when I went in the dress shop, there were females that followed me into the dress shop.
Are there any faux pas that we need to avoid?
I can't tell you. I don't know. All I did was I know that I behaved the way I would in the court of the king, and no one ever said anything to me. And Dad never, he always told me I did well. And I just say, behave like you were in the court of the king.
The only when she says that, Covet just nods. But in her head, all she knows is the court and the Shellion and how, as they called it, the game was always at the forefront. If you
Yeah.
did not play the game well, it
You
would destroy you.
just be careful not to step on toes, and um, be never tell what you're really doing, talk around it. Um, I always said I was just visiting to see the wonders of Shadar Shaddai, you know. And that way, if whatever shop I went into, I was just checking out the marvels that I saw. It worked for me.
Well,
They're very vain about their city. And I guess that goes along with the bureaucracy. So if you compliment the city at every turn, they kind of like it. And that's about all I can tell you.
Well, it seems funny that they're more Fae than they know. Interesting.
You guys will be pulling in to the river, the delta of the river, to lead into Shatter Shaddai.
That's pretty.
As you guys navigate the waterway, you're headed north up this river into the city proper. These are the outskirts of the city. Is there anything you want to do during the 4 hours that you will be navigating this waterway?
It's like sailing in names.
I actually do want to do one thing,
Sure.
which won't take 4 hours, but I'm going to find our logbook and first of all make sure that like it looks exactly as we left it.
Okay.
Second, I am going to go to the very last page of it,
Okay.
and so what I'm going to try to do, or what I'm going to do, is that I'm going to just mark it with a symbol of a trident, and I am going to use the back cover to kind of shield what exactly I'm drawing on it. So just in case, like, if anyone is like watching or scrying, that I don't want them to be able to see what I'm doing, and
Okay.
if somehow they got a copy of it, it would have like that drawing just wouldn't be on that copy.
Sure. Awesome. Not a problem.
Is that a watermark or is that a copyright?
It's just a mark,
I think
right?
I mean watermark is like I'd like to call. I mean, it's not literally a watermark, but it would be fitting.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
just pen and paper.
Awesome. Cool. Not a problem. As you guys,
I'm also going
Go ahead.
to keep the logbook with me.
Okay. Ever since the trial, Rolmos has been keeping 2 copies of the logbook, so you can keep one for yourself.
Yeah, I'll mark both of them in that way then.
Understood. As you guys are navigating through the city, you can smell the delicious foods. You can hear the roar of various vendors on the docks themselves. Trade is bustling and busy as you guys come in. A moment. Shatter Shaddai rises before you. It's an intricate lattice of ivory towers, domed palaces, and sprawling terraces carved into the entire land of Fluiden. The city gleams under the afternoon sun. Its alabaster and blue architecture form a stark contrast against the endless blue of the Western Sea. Minarets and bridges twist skywards like the arms of supplicants, while streets coil through the lower districts like veins, pulsing with life. Markets sprawl along the harbor's edge, vibrant with merchants peddling silks, gems, and arcane relics. The air is thick with the scent of roasting lamb, exotic incenses, and something faintly metallic. Magic. Ever present here, and humming through the very stones of the city, you see horseless carriages rolling along in the city streets, bound with crystals. You see lamps made of crystals that hover off the ground. This entire place is infused and natural in the magical influences. You are about to dock. Is there anything you would like to do last minute before arriving?
Winkle. He's been
Winkle?
thinking.
Yeah?
Yes, he's been thinking. And he's been doing things all wrong, he thinks. So he comes up to Ayla, and he's dressed in his finest suit. His armor is cleaned and polished. His nails are kept, and his hooves are cleaned and tidy. He walks up to her and says, "Is there anything I can do for you, my lady?" after a slight bow.
Notes. Or almost.
So, Ayla, he has turned on, for lack of a better term, the charm.
Yeah, Ayla's jaw hits the floor. And she says, "Not at this present moment, but I would like it very much if you should escort me when we leave the ship."
I understand, my lady, but it would be more proper if if you would direct me so I could walk a few paces before you to make the way safe.
Ayla,
Okay.
you've been granted inspiration, both
Okay.
because of how handsome Winkle is and the inspiring nature of his being,
Oh
as well
my
as someone
goodness.
decide to redeem it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that whatever you think's right, Twinkle, that sounds good.
Thank you, my lady.
Wow.
Okay. So, as you arrive and throw the lines onto the docks, a procession of Viserat inspectors stands waiting at the docks. Their robes ripple in the breeze, embroidered with the golden sigils of the Sultanate's authority. At their center, a man stands hooded. He steps forwards, his hands clasped around a pen that glows with a firelight. A golden mask obscures his expression, featureless save for the hollow gaze of its eye slit. His companions are equally unnerving. They stand there, ready to inspect your ship. A hush settles over the ship's crew as he steps forward. His voice is smooth and authoritative, like a dagger wrapped in velvet. Foreign vessel. You stand before the authority of the Viserat. All who seek entry into Shadar Shaddai must be accounted for. Declare yourselves, your purpose, and any magic you carry. Submit to inspection or be turned away. We tolerate no deception, no smuggled sorcery, no unrest. Step forward and choose your words wisely.
We'll step forward. We'll say, I am Islauren, daughter of Denrin and Kolos, ambassador from the Shinoza Protectorate.
As you say these words, the pen begins writing in midair. Golden words that match yours are inscribed on reality. What do you carry?
I carry the divine magic granted to me by my oath.
Magical items of note.
I will go through every single one that I'm carrying. Do I need to list them all out, or like in session, or
No, we
should I
can
just
go
say
ahead and
that
gloss over that, unless there's something
Yeah.
you want to conceal.
Yeah. Of the items that I am actually carrying, I will hide nothing.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention the scroll just yet. Or the
Okay.
scroll or the treaty for that matter.
And neither of those are on your person, correct?
Right. They are not on my person.
Understood. So we're just going to run down these for Slar, and I'm just going to quickly run through. So I have the Ground Dweller's Shield, the Iron Sword of Protection, a Ring of Protection, the Heirloom Trident, the Longbow, the Shield, the Plate Armor, the Heirloom Shield, the Trident +1, a Potion of Growth, and I think that's it, right?
A couple potions of healing.
Those aren't magical. Yeah, that's pretty much
And if they
it.
care about the powder, silver, and iron as spell components that aren't
Nope, they don't
not
care
meant for
about
themselves,
components. Nope. Awesome. So, he will nod at your honesty. Thank you for your cooperation. There is a small matter of an entry fee for your ship.
Is the fee.
That depends on how many passengers you bring and what cargo you seek to trade within Shadow Sedai.
We have 11 passengers.
The pen begins
We
writing
are-
in reality once again.
We are not primarily seeking to trade any cargo, although we may do so incidentally. We are not delivering any shipments. That is not our specific purpose here.
He narrows his eyes. I need a persuasion check, and you're shooting for a 17 here.
Can I help her?
If you'd like
need
to, if you'd like to get involved in this, how would you assist? For those who cannot see the webcams, Covet has disappeared nearly completely into her chair.
Yes, that is very true. She's kind of hiding. The player is hiding.
Uh-huh.
I guess Twilight would look to see if Islarin wanted help.
Okay. Islarin probably didn't even look over her shoulder as she did the delivery.
And if that's the case, Twilight will not get involved.
Okay. So, with a 25, he looks at you. Truly, the flagship of the Protectorate. Interesting. Welcome, Ambassador. We will have to perform inspection upon anyone who disembarks, but we acknowledge the legitimacy and sovereignty of your vessel. No one will board your ship. The guards will make sure of that.
That is greatly appreciated. More than you know.
Hearing these words, you are all able at this point in time to leave things aboard the ship. The ship will be considered a safe space, not just by the guards, but by the GM for the duration of the time you are in Shadow Shaddai. Any magical items that you do not want inspected need to remain aboard the ship while you are here. If you're willing to have them inspected, you may bring them with you.
So, for clarification, just so we all understand, anything that we leave here, we're good. It's not going to get inspected.
Correct.
It's going to stay.
It's going to
It's not
stay.
gonna be
They
done.
respect the sovereignty of the vessel. They respect the fact that there are magical items that they should not mess with and that they need to protect at the cost of the entire city. They will be putting their elite troops to protect the ship. It will not be messed with. It will simply be protected, and no one will make it on board or through the hull, under the hull. No one is coming anywhere near here, as they will begin setting alarm spells around your ship.
Okay, so with that in knowledge, Covet will go back down to her berth and make sure that the iron flask that has absinthe in it, she will grab that.
Okay, you're going to bring that with you?
No.
Are you
she is
sure?
going-
In a city known as the magic capital of Toivoa, this may be your best chance to get that cleansed.
Even with that knowledge,
Okay.
Covet will look at the flask very carefully and debate, knowing that this might be the best chance, but the Lady of Shadows, she was instructed to deal with absinthe with the Lady of Shadows.
Very well. That's up to you.
So going to take it and pull Romos aside and say, "Can you please add this to the safe?"
He nods, takes it, and goes and puts it in the safe.
She she will return next to Twilight. Already moved things around.
Okay. So, who is going to get the inspection next? As we've inspected Islarian's magical items and nothing seems to be untoward there. Who steps up next to be inspected?
That would be Dubwinkle.
Dubwinkle. Understood. I love the fact that Dubwinkle is that like a appellation, a D apostrophe Bwinkle? Dubwinkle.
Actually, that's a Tidewater.
Understood. Wow.
That's Virginia.
I grew up on the bay.
Dubay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understood.
That's sweet.
So, the inspector, as you approach, holds up the pen. Are you prepared to be inspected, sir?
Yes.
And you feel yourself being checked. Do you allow yourself to be inspected completely?
Yes, I do.
All right. So he goes through and sees the plate armor, the longbow, the ring of protection, the bronze dragon hide bracers of archery, the great axe, the longsword, the shield. And that's it. He nods. We detect no problems or falsehoods from you. You
And
may
I
pass.
go on down to the dock.
Okay.
So I guess I'm next since my protector just walked down the gangplank.
All right. Do you submit to being inspected?
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right. So we have the Stone of Chronicles, the Amulet of the Devout, the Cloak of Protection, a Cloak of the Manta Ray, the Headband of Intellect, a Mace +1, some potions of healing, a shield, and a spear. You also have
Right.
some Australian fire blooms, and a whole bunch of beads of refreshment.
Yeah, and I have the alchemy jug as well.
Yep, alchemy jug. You have the greater mana potion, etc.
Yeah.
They find no problems with any of these items. You may pass within.
Thank you. And I go on down the gangplank and stand there with Bwinkle.
Okay. The manifest keeps being written in the air by the magical pen. Who's next? I have Eowyn, Covet, and Twilight. Because the Fantastic Four, your crew, will be remaining on board the ship, as will Rolmos after the events of Cordray Gruul.
If Eowyn does not, Twilight will.
Okay. Twilight's call. As you step forward, the inspectors look at you. Do you submit yourself to be inspected?
You may proceed.
And they will inspect you. And we have an iron flask containing absinthe.
So you need to refresh my.
Oh, you have to. I need to refresh? Okay. I will refresh. All right.
I put in a bag called Metageth's Might for the things that were left on the.
Understood. All right. So they will detect the studded leather armor that is black, the Iron Stone of Agility, the Australian Fire Blooms, the Cloak of the Fire Bat, a rapier, a cap, an immovable rod hidden somewhere upon your person. You will find... they will find the greater mana potions, the potion of healing, the animated shield in your backpack. They find that interesting that you would hide that there. The Australian Fire Bloom, the potions of healing, bracers of archery that are not being used, some ointment, and I believe that's it until they get to the Quiver of Ilona. As they get to the Quiver of Ilona, the inspector looks at you. Open it.
I proceed to do so.
Okay. They will inspect the arrows of slaying, the longbow +2, the arrows +1, and then they look carefully at the hollow star rib. Explain this.
It's a bow with magical properties acquired recently.
Do you have ill intentions in Shatter Shaddai?
I do not.
Is the Sultan safe from you?
He is, as long as he poses no threat to myself.
Are you targeting any of the members of the Batim, the citizens of Shatter Shaddai, or any of the Vigilant for violence with this weapon?
I have no ill intent to any citizen, dissident, or otherwise member of this city. That is not the purpose that we have come here.
Very well. And they will close the Quiver of Ilona. All right. Cool. You pass inspection and are allowed to get back in. So, is it Covet or Eowyn next?
Eowyn next. I'm sorting.
Eowyn, you would be coming down next. Are you ready, Eowyn, for inspection?
Yeah.
All right. Eowyn, this is old hat to you. Every time you arrive in Nausha, the Blue Cloaks do exactly the same thing. This is just bureaucracy and normal, so you know exactly how this goes. This is not a big deal to you. It might be a big deal to the rest of the party, but for you, this is just normal stuff. They check you for your magical items. They find the Ifriti chain, the Dragon Slayer longsword, which they open their eyes wider at. They're impressed by, but they don't say anything. The Ring of Protection, the Scale Mail, the Amulet of the Devout, the Cloak of Protection, and your mace. You are allowed to pass. Welcome to Shadar Shaddai.
Thank you.
As you're allowed to enter, we go to Coven Von Sin, who is at the top of the gangplank with these ominous inspectors at the bottom.
Metaphorically, she has put on the mask of the noble, to hide her fear. And so she stands a little taller.
So metaphorically, understood.
Yes, metaphorically. She stands a little taller. Her head's held high, and she steps forward, ready for inspection. And
roll a persuasion check of a DC 17 in order to get across that you should be considered noble.
Okay. Before I do that, though, everything that is in the Madagaf's might bag, quote unquote, is what stays on the Madagaf's might.
Fair enough.
All right. And you said, what was it? Persuasion?
Yes, ma'am. With a 28, your bearing is acknowledged, and they will give a slight bow to you as you come down, like they did for Islarin. Do you submit yourself to inspection?
I do.
They will wave their detection across your magical items. And I'm going to refresh to make sure I get this right, because I want to make sure that I don't speak out of turn here. So, they will gloss over the Mask of Imkael's Truth. They gloss over the Staff of Fire that you have in your hands on the docks of Shadar Shaddai. The Iron Stone of Protection, they do not find interesting. The Leather Wings of the Shadow Dragon, they are impressed by. The Necklace of Fireballs, they pause for a moment. You do not intend to use this within the bounds of Shadar Shaddai. You do not wish harm to the Sultan or the Batim or any of the citizens of Shadar Shaddai.
No.
The Potion of Heroism, they gloss over. The Cap of Water Breathing, the Cloak of Protection, the Potion of Growth, do not interest them. The Tomes of Zorif Zaf, they look at. Open it.
She opens it to the very last page with the scribbling of
Tay?
Of Tay.
Okay. There's a little bit of a smile at the corner of the eyes here. Ah. The collected notes of a pen pal. Understood. They close it. They good.
She takes it and puts it back in her bag. She takes it back.
Sure.
Puts it away.
They see the Australian Fire Bloom, the Potion of Healing, the Potion of Heroism, and the Lavender Amethysts. Before coming to the Gnome Face Mustache. This item is banned within Shadar Shaddai and must be destroyed.
Okay. She hands it over.
The fugitive known as Knick-Knack Chichelli is not welcome here. Nor is his likeness, nor any of his magical items or trinkets. They are being used for terrorism within the city and must be destroyed. Do you
I didn't
submit
know-
it to be destroyed?
Oh, absolutely.
He holds out his hand for the item.
She hands it to him.
As you put the item in his hand, it never touches his palm, but rather dissolves into a black powder that hovers there for a moment before he drops it into the water at the side of the gangplank. Disintegration has just been cast on the gnome face mustache.
Never got, it was one of those things that you find in your travels.
Other than that, he has no interest in any of your other magical items. Until he comes to a dagger named Soul Render. He pauses here. What is this?
It is a dagger.
It is more than that. Explain.
It makes sure that those who perish do not come back as undead. They go on immediately to their afterlife.
Are you the slayer of necromancers?
Why do you ask?
I am the inspector. It is my job.
If it is time for their final death, I will.
Do you intend harm to any of the Batim, the Sultan, or any of the citizens of Shatter Shaddai with this dagger?
I do not intend it, no.
You will be watched from afar. This dagger is problematic for certain members of the Batim. Should you not engage with them, you will have no faults. You are given the opportunity to leave it upon your ship without harm.
She keep it upon her,
Very well.
but with the knowledge that she will need to be careful and
Mechanically, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal this. If you leave the dagger on the ship, you will not be followed by inspectors the entire time you are in Shatter Shaddai. If you take it with you, you guys will have a tail. This is up to you. This could prove beneficial either way.
she thinks about everything. And she takes a moment to just collect her thoughts. And she remembers that those that came forward in the trial, there was never anybody from Shatter Shaddai, like the guards, the tails, or anything like that came forward. So she decides to keep it on her so she could have an official person
Okay.
tail her,
Understood.
just in case.
Cool. Very well. You will be escorted at no closer of a distance than 100 feet. You will not be bothered, but you will be observed. Are you aware and acquiesce to these conditions?
I am aware, and I consent to them.
Very well. Welcome to Shatter Shaddai, the city of mages. Ambassador, the fee for the 6 people who have disembarked will be 120 gold pieces.
I will pay that fee.
He takes it and puts it in his pocket. Welcome to the city. You'll be followed by one of the juniors of our order. Good day. And the collection of these inspectors will head off, leaving you guys within the city.
Covet meets up with the group at the bottom of the gangplank and says, I figured that it would be best to have an official witness, as she nods back to the tail.
As you guys are standing here, you're going to see a series of guards beginning to cast spells all around your ship. This is expected and not out of the ordinary. You knew that they were going to do this. You were even told they were going to do this. But it may be a little disconcerting to see how effective that these guards are doing so. We will show you an image of the guards there for you.
They look intimidating.
I like the armor.
All told, the ship will be surrounded by 3 small boats, each of the boats having 8 guards. And on the docks, there will be 64 guards around your ship.
That's a fuck around to find out if I ever heard of it.
You guys can detect anti-magic fields around them, and beyond them, spells of alarm. No one's getting on your ship. So, welcome to Shatter Shaddai, the city of mages. Where would you like to go? And what would you like to do next week on the Us Against the Gods campaign? I hope you guys are enjoying the content. As always, thank you so much for choosing me to be your GM. There's a ton of amazing ones out there, and I'm always thankful you choose to level up your game with GM Eric. And we will come back next week to explore what happens here. Do join us tonight for the hangout. If you know someone who wants to play one of my games, send them my way. I'd love to talk to them about either getting on the wait list or getting into a one-shot. Check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/GMEric. Check out the YouTube channel. The website also has the Sagaz Edition hoodies, tank tops, and t-shirts. Pick those up while you still can. Those are really cool. And we also need to do a drawing today for a 40-ounce Brad mug that is steel lined with a screw-on lid. These are amazing. These are metal mugs. We're going to do this as a result of the clip contest that we held all throughout January. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick here. There were 39 entries in this, and I'm going to roll 1d39. All right, so 1d39. Number 22 was Mordrax for a clip that he recorded. So Mordrax is going to get a 40-ounce Brad mug that is a steel Brad mug. So that will be going out to Mordrax. Congratulations, Mordrax. But yeah, guys, have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, and we'll come back next week for Us Against the Gods, tonight for the Hangout, and tomorrow morning for Beneath Fallen Skies as they face off against the Great Eye of Akru.